You probably know Clint Barton, aka Hawkeye, from the MCU. And you probably know Laura Barton, who is seemingly confirmed to be Agent 19, aka Mockingbird, in the Hawkeye Disney Plus series. But you may not know that Hawkeye never deserved Mockingbird in the comics. Welcome to Storytime with Beckermin.
So Hawkeye and Mockingbird meet in Volume 1 Hawkeye Limited Series. It's kind of a weird relationship right from the get-go because Hawkeye is definitely a buffoon and Mockingbird usually comes off much smarter and much more competent of a hero than he does. Hawkeye, as one of my friends once said, is kind of a simp. He's dating a double agent unknowingly, and this woman causes him to actually work for supervillains. He's working for Darren Cross, who movie fans would remember as the Yellow Jacket from Ant-Man. Hawkeye's working for that guy's company, Cross Technologies. Now, Mockingbird suspects foul play at this company. She interacts with Hawkeye. Hawkeye pretty much messes up the whole adventure and doesn't understand really what's going on until much, much later than Mockingbird. Finds out his girlfriend isn't who she says she is, ends up obviously brokenhearted over it, and Mockingbird's there to pick up the pieces. They begin a very quick romance, and by the end of issue 4, they are married and starting their honeymoon, which goes into Avengers and goes into the formation of the West Coast Avengers, one of my favorite early runs of my reading. West Coast Avengers started off as a limited series. Here we see Hawkeye and Mockingbird kind of as the very much the new love, the newlyweds, Hawkeye carrying her over the threshold of their new mansion. Hawkeye and Mockingbird, with the help of their new team of Avengers, take down the Blank and Gravitron. West Coast Avengers Volume 2 opens up with Hawkeye still obsessed with making this team as good as he can. And he's very obsessed with getting the perfect member basically to his team. Where Bobby's role is in this is she kind of keeps him grounded and makes him realize when he's being an ass. Hawkeye is very dismissive to people he doesn't think are going to be newsworthy of his new team, very cruel at times, and comes off as kind of an oaf when new potential member Firebird clearly wants to join the team, but Hawkeye is unintentionally mean to her. And Bobby calls him out for this. And we see now a continuing trope is that Bobby's more competent of a leader than Hawkeye. She realizes what they're trying to do, and she realizes that the way Clint's doing it is probably not the best way to run a team. Shortly after WCA Volume 2, we see the team begin an Old West adventure. They're in the American Southwest following their escapades with Firebird. This leads the team to a time traveling adventure, and here's where we get to the big wrinkle of the marriage of Mockingbird and Hawkeye. This is the climax of what's going to eventually tear them apart. Mockingbird is kidnapped by Phantom Rider, who should not be confused with Carter Slade. This is his brother, Lincoln Slade, who had picked up the mantle after his brother died. Lincoln Slade kidnaps Mockingbird, uses what can best be described as an herbal roofie to wipe Mockingbird's memories of her past and convinces her that he is her husband and they are together, and he essentially rapes her. The West Coast Avengers come to rescue her. Mockingbird is able to fight off this influence, battles Phantom Rider, defeats him, and here's an important distinction: does not kill him. She just doesn't do anything to save him. Mockingbird has this very cool scene where she's standing above him. Phantom Rider is clutching the sides of a cliff. She looks below. He asks for help, and she just lets him die. Now, I wouldn't call this murder. I would call this fighting yourself away from your rapist and just not putting yourself in a situation where they could hurt you again. Who knows what could have happened had she offered her hand to him? He could have just done, I mean, this guy doesn't have any goodwill with her. He's treated her terribly. He's deceived her. He's used her both emotionally and physically. She owes him nothing at this point. However, you know who doesn't see this way? That oaf Hawkeye. And when I say oh, I mean just what a bumbling moron. This guy gets it wrong at every stage of their relationship. Hawkeye finds out the truth, and instead of saying, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry you went through this terrible situation," and emotionally being there for his wife or being a good spouse, he says, "You broke Avengers bylaws," because that's where you go in your marriage. You should always follow the Avengers bylaws at all times. Keep in mind, this is a guy who has also broken Avengers bylaws. But an Avenger doesn't kill, and they don't allow anybody to die if they can save them. And this is in the charter of the fabled Avengers bylaws, which they love to talk about back in the 80s and late 70s. So Hawkeye has no choice but to kick Mockingbird off the team, and in protest, other members quit, including Tigra and Moon Knight, who both think Mockingbird did nothing wrong. The team splits up. After some time, they end up going on two different adventures that just predictably collide again. But the damage to Hawkeye and Mockingbird's marriage would prove pretty permanent for at least for the next several years of West Coast Avengers stories. Mockingbird goes on to leave the team temporarily, make some mistakes along that way, but those mistakes lead her to Hawkeye and the Great Lakes Avengers, where she decides that she still very much has feelings for Hawkeye. She wants to be there for him, and together they try to train a new generation of superheroes. Obviously, the Great Lakes Avengers did not work out, but not for lack of Mockingbird trying, and she's clearly doing it for Clint. She clearly still has feelings for this guy. And all the way into the high 60s of WCA issues, this kind of just reoccurs. Mockingbird keeps giving Hawkeye space, but also letting him know that she still cares about him. And a Hawkeye just kind of continually keeps her at arm's length and routinely calls her his estranged wife. In Avengers West Coast 69, we see the team having survived government interference. They are now reforming and voting on new members. Hawkeye is shoo-in due to his history as the team's leader. The other members then get to vote for each other to decide who's going to be on this new team. Mockingbird gets put to reserve status, only having received one vote. After the vote, she goes to Hawkeye and thanks him for providing her with a vote. She's like, "I didn't expect to get in, but it really made me feel good knowing that you voted for me." Hawkeye reveals, like an ass, that he didn't vote for her and he has no idea who would have. Mockingbird is clearly hurt, and he just doubles down on it and says, "Well, why would I want my estranged wife on a team with me?" This guy continually notices that he's hurting this woman's feelings, this woman who has done nothing but try to support him at every stage of his superhero career. And he just doesn't care. At the worst of times, Hawkeye comes off as cruel and indifferent towards Mockingbird, and at best of times, he's just kind of a buffoon. Mockingbird would continue to be a frequent guest star of the Avengers West Coast series, all the way to the end when she gives her life to save Hawkeye's in a battle with Mephisto. Hawkeye is devastated and does everything he can to try to get her back. It proves, at least for the sake of the next several years of comic books, to be a permanent death, and Hawkeye is left haunted by it, so much so that it becomes the central plot line of Hawkeye Limited Series Volume 2. It's a 4-issue limited series, and it shows Hawkeye has withdrawn from people. And this is curious to me because this is a guy who had tons of chances to get back with his ex-wife and continually kept her at arm's length, tried to keep her away from him, allowed her to be voted off of the team he formed with her. And now that she's gone, he's like a child that lost a toy he had discarded. He's basically withdrawn himself to the Arctic Circle and is hunting caribou and just missing his ex-wife. It's a really bizarre tale, and you have to understand, like, from start to finish, it only takes up about 6 years of reader time, and in the comic books, probably similar timeline. It's just amazing that this guy mistreats this woman for most of their relationship, and then when he loses her, just can't believe, why is this happening to him. Hawkeye is definitely a buffoon that never deserved Mockingbird.
Thank you for watching this first episode of Storytime with Beckermin. Please let us know in the comments if you have any opinions about the story given today. Did we give Hawkeye a bad rap? Was he a better husband than we showed you? Please let us know down below if you like or hate what we're doing here. Either way, we appreciate your time. Thank you.